part one of Who the Fuck Do I Live With? I have the craziest roommate story of all time. This story involves sinister lesbian undertones, a rug dealer, a delusional therapist, and a pathological liar slash narcissist that had been manipulating me and my other roommate for 5 years. So the story starts when I graduate college and I moved to Austin, Texas with 2 girls. I'm just gonna call them crazy roommate and normal roommate so you get the idea. We live on a busy road, and one day me and normal roommate are home and crazy roommate's out of the house, and we see a dog get hit by a car, and it is gory, it's horrible, and we are fucked up about it sitting on the couch. Crazy roommate gets home and she almost seems mad or jealous that we experienced this tragedy without her. Fast forward a couple weeks and my normal roommate goes home for a month, so it's just me and Crazy in the apartment. And she's been acting crazy, living up to her name, okay? I hadn't clocked it yet, but she's having a manic episode. She's not sleeping. She's talking a million miles an hour. She's not really living in reality. She buys me a shirt with a dead cat on it that says "Better Off Dead." I'm like, that is seriously so strange. I'm starting to get weird vibes, so I go over to my friend's apartment. Well, I'm at my friend's apartment. She texts me and tells me she's been hanging out with her friend. We're just going to call this girl friend number 1. This is crazy roommate's friend, is friend number 1. Her and friend number 1 were out and about, and they walk into the apartment and the windows are open and they hear a car crash outside, and they go and look, and a car has hit a man walking across the street and killed him. I text friend number 1 asking if she's all right because what they've seen is horrible. She informs me that none of this ever happened and she doesn't know what I'm talking about. So now I know that this car crash never happened, and I have to go home and face crazy roommate and think about what to say. I already know she's lying, so I walk into the apartment with my phone recording because I don't think anyone's about to believe me when this girl is about to tell me this story about this crash that never happened. So I sit down next to her and she tells me about this crash in excruciating, gory detail to the point where she is crying and shaking and she has goosebumps all over her body. I am so confused. I walk out of the apartment and I text the friend she said she was with. I text my neighbors and I check the police reports and I check with my building, and I know that she is lying to me and that this crash never happened. Okay, I don't want these to be too long, so in the next part, I call her mom and find out that this girl's been living a fake life and I don't know anything about her. Part 2 of Who the Fuck Do I Live With? So we left off me finding out that my roommate is lying to me about seeing a man get hit by a car in order to get me to come home and spend more time with her. So I wake up the next morning and my roommate is still saying things like, I know you saw a dog get hit by a car a couple weeks ago, but this was like a human being. I haven't slept at all. I keep dreaming of seeing this man in the street and all of this stuff. So I text friend number 1 and I'm like, something's wrong. We need to call this girl's mom. So I go over to friend number 1's house, and together we look at our texts from crazy roommate and figure out that she has not slept in 3 days. 3 days. She had been texting us separately at all hours of the night saying she wasn't sleeping, blah, blah, blah. So people will often ask me if I ever knew anything was wrong with this girl before any of this happened. And the answer is yes. This girl was always really neurotic, really emotionally unstable, but as long as I had known her and as long as my other roommate had known her, so 5 years, this girl's mom had been battling stage 4 terminal breast cancer. She had gotten a mastectomy, she had been in and out of treatment centers in Arizona, was going through chemotherapy, and this was something that my crazy roommate spoke about daily. She talked about it to her sorority of over 200 women. My normal roommate would go to church and pray with her. She would often cry about this. She would often ask us to stay home with her. This was something she talked about every day for 5 years. So when I call her mom on the phone, I tell her about the crash, that we're afraid that crazy roommate is having delusions or hallucinations and she hasn't slept and something is wrong. Her mom says to me, oh my God, what do you think is causing this? Like, has anything changed? What's going on? I say something along the lines of, I'm sure she worries about you and your health, and living away from Colorado, where we're all from, is probably really hard for her. Her mom says, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And I'm like, the cancer. And her mom's like, what do you mean? I've never had cancer. So now I know, not only is crazy roommate in the middle of some manic delusional episode, but I know she's a pathological liar that's been manipulating me into thinking that her mom is dying for 5 years. So we left off with me finding out that my roommate has been lying to me and my other roommate for 5 years about her mom having terminal breast cancer, while she's in the middle of an episode convinced that she saw a man get hit by a car. And I know that she's lying and none of this ever happened. And I have to go back to the apartment and talk to her. So I go back to the apartment and there are handwritten pages and pages sprawled all over the counter, and like 5 to 10 canvases with really whacked out weird paintings on them in the living room. So I managed to read some of the handwritten pages that are on the counter, and it's all about serial killers, controlling women, manipulating the human mind. Just like the sickest, weirdest shit you can think of is on these pages. Keep in mind that I think no one's gonna believe me about how insane this girl is acting, so I am pressing record on my phone and setting my phone between us while she's talking to me. And if you want to know what anxiety is like, just secretly record a crazy person. I promise you, it is the freakiest thing you will ever experience in your life. She's saying things to me like she feels in a time warp or an energy warp. She's afraid of herself. She hasn't slept. She feels like she's running on fumes and she doesn't know what she's going to do to herself. I've already called her mom at this point, so I think that her parents are going to get on a flight and get to Austin to deal with their crazy ass daughter. They don't. So I'm sending her mom these recordings of her saying these things, being like, she's out of her mind. Will you please get to Austin and help me? Her parents are like, we're going to contact her therapist so her therapist can advise us on what to do. This therapist is convinced that this girl is suffering from an eating disorder. Okay, I'm not one to tell people they're faking their disorders, but I've lived with this girl and known her, and she does not have an eating disorder. She is crazy. She definitely has some disorder, but they need to come up with a new DSM to diagnose this girl. Like, God knows what's going on. I'm like, okay, whatever, contact the therapist. Meanwhile, I'm starting to be afraid for my life. I have everything that could be used as hidden in my room. And this girl thinks that a thunderstorm outside is talking to her. I don't sleep for an entire night because I can hear her outside in the living room pacing around all night. So the next day I get up, I call her mom. I am bawling, crying so hard, saying, please, please, please come to Austin. I am so freaked out. Please come to Austin. I'm afraid she's gonna hurt herself. Please come to Austin. And her parents gaslight me and they're like, sweetie, we know you haven't slept too. Like, we're gonna try and figure out what to do. Meanwhile, crazy roommate invites the rug dealer over. So we left off with crazy roommate thinking a thunderstorm is talking to her, not sleeping for an entire night, and inviting a rug dealer over. Meanwhile, I am begging her parents for help, and I am telling them, you better not tell her that I've been in contact with you while I am alone with her, because I am afraid of her. And the second she finds out that I know that her whole life is a lie and I'm the only one who knows and I've contacted her parents, I am really, really afraid what she's gonna do to me or to herself. So all of a sudden she gets an email from her therapist asking her to sign a consent form so her parents can talk to her therapist. As expected, she freaks out. She goes into her room and I give the rug dealer the quickest rundown I possibly can on what's happening and tell him that he cannot leave and he needs to get ready to call 911. So her parents get on the phone with her and tell her everything that I explicitly asked them not to, and we hear her in her room screaming, I'm gonna myself. Screaming it. I'm like, perfect, exactly what I fucking knew was gonna happen if you guys told her this shit. So I tell Mr. Rug Dealer to go outside the apartment and literally wait with 911 on the phone. Finally, I talk crazy roommate down. I literally walk into her room and she's like rocking back and forth in the closet. She's like convinced fire alarms are going off when they're not. So finally, we talk her down and we convince her to go get on a flight back to Colorado. Her parents, this is an ordeal that went on for 3 days, 4 days. Her parents never came. I had to physically walk her to her gate and put her on a flight back to Colorado. She leaves and my normal roommate comes home. And me and my normal roommate are sitting on the couch together, and my normal roommate says, I have to ask you something. I'm like, ask me. She says, when we were in college, did you ever tell crazy roommate that you were in love with her? Bitch. So this is where I find out about the smear campaign this girl has been running behind my back about me for years. So we left off with me putting crazy roommate on a flight back to Colorado, and me finding out from my normal roommate that she's been telling everyone for years, that everyone thought for years that I had a big old lesbian crush on this girl. So I'm like, call your friends right now and tell them that shit never happened, that that's not true. So she gets her friends on the phone and is like, she's a liar, none of this ever happened, blah, blah, blah. Her friends are like, there's some other things we've wanted to ask you about that crazy roommate said about you. I'm like, please ask me. They tell me that she's been telling everyone for years that I slept with my sister's boyfriend. My sister and her boyfriend have been together for almost a decade, and my sister is quite literally my best friend. And it's like ridiculous. And there's like hundreds of people at my school, at my college, that think I did this. And then she's been telling everybody, I guess when I would come hang out, like in a group setting, she would tell everyone that I was so socially anxious that like not to talk to me because it'll stress me out and all of this stuff. And then my normal roommate tells me that when I would be gone, when I would be out of the apartment, she would go sit in my room at my vanity and stare at herself in the mirror for hours. And she would go try on my clothes. And once we get her out of the house, we look in her room and she had stolen like 10 of my lip glosses, chapsticks, and lipsticks. What the fuck? My mind is like right now. Because not only has this girl been manipulating me into doing things for her because I thought her mom was dying, she also has been telling everyone what a horrible person I am with these made up stories behind my back that I didn't know about for years. So this is our first apartment out of college, so all our parents are guarantors on this lease. So we text crazy roommate's parents and we're like, we need you guys to sign on to break this lease. And they're like, we don't want to tell her that. Will you guys tell her that? And we're like, we're not telling her anything unless there is like an adult present because she's insane. And so they're like, will you guys get on a call with her and her therapist? And we say, yes, but we are not going to be the ones to break the news to her that we know she's been lying about her mom having cancer for 5 years. You guys have to do that. And so they agree, and we get on the call with her and her therapist. And her therapist says, do you guys think that you'll be able to get over this and be friends again? Me and my normal roommate are like, fuck no, baby. Like, fuck no. Fuck no. And my normal roommate says on the call, I won't ever be able to get over the fact that you've been lying to me about your mom having cancer for 5 years. Guess what crazy roommate's parents didn't tell her we knew? So she freaks the fuck out on this call. Freaks out. She's crying, she's bawling, and her therapist says to us, I think all of us here can agree that crazy roommate never meant any harm by the things she lied about. She only wanted like attention. Mind you, this girl had told everyone that I slept with my sister's boyfriend for years. So we get off the call and her parents eventually text us and say, we bought her a flight to come back to Austin to live with you guys on this date. And it was like a week later. Me and normal roommate are like, there is not tomorrow, not next week, not in a decade. Is there any possible scenario where I'm in the room with this girl and it's a peaceful situation? Like, my hate for this girl runs through my body. Like, still to this day, this happened years ago. And if I saw her in public, it would not be peaceful. I would have something to say at the very least. So we left off with her parents trying to send her back to live with us. So eventually they agreed to break the lease and ask us if we can go through and kind of get her stuff together. I'm like, for sure. I want to see what the fuck this girl has in her room. And this is one of the most morally sketchy things I've ever done. I wanted to read her journal because I wanted to know if this girl seriously thought her mom had cancer or not. So I read her journal, which is like, don't ever read anyone's journal, but I did it. And it was fucking insane. Like, so much of it was about me, which really freaked me out, bad, based on everything I had just found out. And then, so her parents just eventually come, pick up all her stuff, tell us that all that happened was that her ADHD meds caused her to have a manic episode, and that's the only thing that's wrong with her. And then we just straight up never heard from her again. I've never seen her, never heard from her, nothing. So after that, I didn't sleep for like a month. I dropped like 15 pounds, and I thought everyone around me was lying to me about everything for like 2 years. Like 2 fucking years. And I feel like when you hear about narcissists or pathological liars, it's often framed in romantic relationships or parental relationships. I just feel like it's important to tell this story because you should not overlook weird red flags from your friends. Because there were some things that happened that if I took them seriously, I would have never been in this escalated situation. Like, don't ever overlook your friends lying, being sketchy, when they have that secret animosity towards you that you can clock. Those are all serious things that you should take seriously. Anyway, I hope she's doing better, not for her sake, but for everyone's around her's sake. And I haven't ever told this story because I don't want to like bring it back up for her. But at the end of the day, I do believe that like you own the horrible things that people do to you. Like, I own this story and I own this information, and I can choose to share it whenever. No hate or disrespect towards this person, because I can see how you would think that when I'm explaining this story with zero empathy. But let me explain why I have no empathy for my crazy roommate. First off, for years, I had covered this girl's schoolwork, cooked for her, cleaned for her, done everything for her because I legitimately thought her mom was dying. One time, on my birthday, we were in a hotel room throwing an after party, and a bunch of crazy shit went down, but the guy I was seeing was there, and while he was leaving, she chased him out into the hallway and made out with him. When I confronted her about this, it was, I blacked out, I'm drinking a lot. Guess what? Because her mom was dying. A couple weeks later, we have to go back to the same hotel this happened at, and I make a comment like, damn, at least we're not drinking. And she flips her shit on me. She's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're such a bitch. You're evil. Let it fucking go. My mom's dying. My mom has cancer. So like, the gaslighting was fucking crazy. And just like, you cannot understand finding out that this was not real when it had been going on for years. Like, years is such a long time. My normal roommate really wanted kids and would often talk about how much she wanted kids. And my crazy roommate came home from the doctor one day and told us that she found out that she can't have kids, and she was distraught about this. We find out later that this is not true from her parents, okay? But she did that so that my normal roommate couldn't speak about how much she wanted kids in the future anymore. I had a friend pass away in college, and she told everyone that while I was grieving my friend, she came over and I sat on the ground with her and told her that I was in love with her, that I had a huge crush on her. She hijacked my grief about my friend and told everyone the story to make it about herself. And then when we moved to Austin, I shared a bathroom with her, so all these people thought I was like some freaky pervert who wanted to share a bathroom with this girl that I was in love with. After this all happened, I was out with a bunch of people I went to college with who were my sister's age, so a couple years older, and a couple of the people started yelling at me, being like, we know what you did, you fucked your sister's boyfriend, you're scum, you're such a piece of shit. Like, I left crying because all these people thought this thing happened that never did because of this girl. She would often seek out people whose parents had actually gone through cancer for extra empathy. So while this girl is spreading these heinous lies about me, she's also exploiting my empathy to take care of her. And while she's in the middle of the manic episode and I am finding out that I've been manipulated and lied to for years, guess who has to baby her and take care of her? I do. So while in those moments when I was the one checking to make sure she was breathing in the morning, I contacted her parents to get her help, and I went through her room to make sure she didn't have any weapons to hurt herself. I sat there for hours trying to talk her down. I did have empathy through this manic episode, but somebody suffering from mental health issues and them being a good person are two completely different things. And while I have empathy for the mental health issues she was suffering from, I do not have empathy for how horrible of a person she truly is. And I call her crazy, not because she had an episode, but because she was lying to everyone for literally years. And my last 2 points are that I made that video multiple parts so I could keep the story straight as I was telling it. And I probably will make a couple bucks off posting those videos. And you know what? I'll put them towards the fun of the fucking therapy I had to go to after this shit happened.